Here's Love to the end zone. Diving catch.
Yeah, Jordan Love's balling, man. I feel like he's always got some kind of highlight throw every week.
Touchdown, Jaden Reed.
Touchdown, Reed. Oh, did Dobbs catch that? What a catch, Romeo Dobbs.
Let's get this, man. Love you, dude. Let's go.
The Packers just went 11-6 with the youngest roster in football, and despite getting knocked out of the playoffs in the first round, the post-Aaron Rodgers rebuild is right on track. In fact, it may even be ahead of schedule, but this return to relevance isn't just about 2025, it's about building a team the Packers way and striving towards something bigger than a single championship. The question is, are Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur the guys to take them there?
We're capable, certainly, of that. I feel like we've got a great start and a great group of guys.
Put on the show. It's what we do.
Hey, D-line not better than us, and we gonna show that today. Gonna be sacked again. It's Rashawn Gary.
Hurt, intercepted, taken away by Xavier McKinney.
Hey, that's him. Hey, that's him.
What do you think the identity of this Packers team is right now?
Just hungry.
December 29th, 2024, US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis. The Packers walked in at 11-4, winners of 5 of their last 6. Jordan Love was silencing critics, Josh Jacobs was punishing defenses, and the results were pretty clear. Green Bay looked like a contender again. A win over the Vikings would have kept them in the hunt for the 2 seed, and for a young roster already ahead of schedule, it was the chance to prove they belonged with the NFC's heavyweights. Instead, the wheels came off. Costly turnovers, missed opportunities, and a normally stout defense that gave up chunk plays in the biggest moments all contributed to a 27-25 loss.
Love back to pass over the middle, incomplete up the middle, and he makes a Viking miss as he heads to the right. He dropped it. It's a fumble.
Instead of locking down a home playoff game, the Packers were scrambling. Week 18 should have been a reset, a chance to end the regular season with a win and avoid a matchup in Philly as the 7th seed. The rival Bears arrived at Lambeau with a 4-12 record, having been dominated by the Packers for the last 2 decades. But the Packers stumbled again, falling to Chicago 24-22.
Late pressure fired. Buries him. Ball is out. It's on the ground, and it looks like the Bears have it.
Love didn't even finish the game. After leaving at halftime with numbness in his throwing hand, he was pulled by Matt LaFleur to protect him for the playoffs. But the damage was already done. The Packers lost at home to a struggling Bears team, killing any late season momentum they had. What was supposed to be a cakewalk turned into a funeral march. Then came wildcard weekend and Philly's top-ranked scoring defense and was ugly. The Packers turned the ball over 4 times, including 3 picks from Jordan Love, and 2024 ended with a whimper instead of a bang. But history tells us that's how every Packers dynasty begins, and this latest version is right on schedule, at least as far as Jordan Love's development goes. But was this team really as close as their record indicated in 2024? Smash that like button and hit subscribe while we dive into it. Now, on paper, 11-6 is a hell of a season and all but guarantees a playoff spot. But a closer look reveals that the 2024 Packers overachieved, and not in a small way. To be clear, Packers fans, we're not saying they weren't good enough to make the playoffs. They were, and they did. But there were some glaring issues with this team that need to be addressed. For starters, they went 1-5 in the NFC North. Division games aren't just losses, they're double hits. You drop in the standings and you hand away tiebreakers that crush you before January even hits. No team since the 2008 Chargers had made the playoffs with a 1-5 division record. And like those Chargers, Packers didn't survive wildcard weekend. The Lions and Vikings swept them in the regular season. Yes, 3 of their 4 losses were decided by a field goal or less, but almost doesn't earn you a damn thing in this league. In week 4, Green Bay rolled up 465 yards of offense with Love throwing for 379 yards and 4 touchdowns. Normally, those numbers win you games, but it was one of those weeks when the Packers D gave up 34 points. In week 17 at Minneapolis, with playoff seeding on the line, the defense crashed again. They gave up nearly 450 yards and folded when it mattered, earning a playoff matchup in Philly. And we all know how that went. Green Bay's only division win last year came in week 11 at Chicago, and even that was a nail-biter. That's not the resume of a contender. It's a team feasting outside of the division and getting served up on a platter inside. We'll talk in a minute about how Green Bay remedied all of this for 2025, but first, let's finish covering what went right in 2024. On a positive note, Packers fans, your team won most of the games they were supposed to. The Colts, Saints, Seahawks, Jags, Cardinals, and Titans. And they tacked on some signature wins against playoff teams like the Rams and Texans, so this team isn't far off. All they need to do is figure out how to stop getting bullied in their own neighborhood. Even better news for Packers fans is that this team is right on schedule, historically. And here's what we mean. Green Bay's front office has been building toward this. Last year, they gave Jordan Love a 4-year, $220 million extension and brought in an All-Pro in Josh Jacobs. This offseason, they made a series of smaller moves to shore up the supporting cast. The question is, will it be enough to flip the script against the Lions and Vikings, or is Green Bay still chasing this year? Green Bay's front office made moves on both sides of the ball that should have Packers fans thrilled about 2025, but let's look at the base first. Jordan Love's numbers in 2024 were solid. Almost 3,400 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 11 picks. Now, they're not exactly Hall of Fame stats, but context matters, because Love battled through a lot of adversity. An MCL sprain in Week 1 cost him 2 starts, and once he was back, he spent the rest of the season fighting through thumb pain, groin tightness, and elbow soreness. By December, every throw came with a wince, and each recovery session lasted a little longer than the one before. Because of that, a lot of people forget what he looked like before the injuries. But in the tail end of 2023, Love was one of the best quarterbacks in football. Over his final 8 games, he threw for over 2,100 yards and 18 touchdowns with just 1 interception. He finished with a 70% completion rate, a 112 passer rating, and a road playoff win in Dallas where he threw 3 touchdowns, and that wasn't a fluke. That's why ESPN analysts are already floating this kid as a possible 2025 MVP candidate. If Green Bay stacks wins this year, Love's numbers and narrative will put him right in that conversation, and a lot of that will be due to Josh Jacobs. Green Bay's decision to pay Aaron Jones' replacement looked risky. And I'm not gonna lie, it was definitely out of character for the Packers to sign a veteran free agent to a 4-year deal, especially after the 2023 season saw Jacobs' production plummet. So, all Josh did was repay them by making the front office look like geniuses. 1,329 yards and 15 touchdowns.
Handoff goes to Jacobs, running room, left side. He's to the outside.
I mean, that dude, he has it all. He can make you miss.
Jacobs, gaping hole for Jacobs.
But it wasn't just the production, it was the timing. 14 of those touchdowns came in Jacobs' final 10 games. That's late season dominance and red zone production the Packers hadn't seen from Aaron Jones since 2022. But it's the receivers out wide that make this group most dangerous. Jaden Reed has emerged as the top option, piling up 1,650 yards in his first 2 seasons. But Jordan Love is a hell of a distributor, so you never know who's going to see the lion's share of targets in any given week. Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, and Dontavian Wicks have all had breakout games. But it's the new guy in Titletown who ESPN is projecting as wide receiver 1 on their final roster, and Packers fans couldn't be more excited.
Since 2002, after wide receiver, Matthew Golden, wide receiver, Texas.
Matthew Golden brings blistering 4.29 speed and a first-round pedigree.
For the end zone, and it is caught. Matthew Golden for 6.
But this kid also knows how to be a system player who's comfortable sharing the spotlight. With Christian Watson's injury status up in the air and Romeo Doubs' trade rumors swirling, the kid from Texas is likely to see the field early and often. And here's the thing about Green Bay's philosophy. Golden actually lowers the average age of what was already the youngest receiving core in the league. But that's what the Packers do. Brett Favre had Antonio Freeman, Mark Chmura, and Bubba Franks during his development. Aaron Rodgers had Greg Jennings and Jordy Nelson before he and Devontae Adams became one of the most prolific duos in history. The Packers develop players within the system to grow with their quarterback. Tucker Kraft is shaping up to be one of those guys at tight end for Love. Kraft nearly doubled his production from 2023 to 2024, quietly scoring 7 touchdowns on a team with a lot of mouths to feed. Having that many guys with this much talent going into years 2, 3, and 4 for many of them is going to be huge for Jordan Love. If there's one question mark for this offense, it's the depth of the O-line. The starters are set and they're solid across the board, but if one of them goes down, it's a problem. The best case scenario is the starters hold up. An offensive coordinator can develop the young guys during the first half of the season. If so, this could be one of the most exciting offenses in the league this year. But if the Packers do take that next step and get to the championship, it'll be from the monster leap the defense is going to make this season. The Packers fielded the 5th best overall defense in 2024, but the significant improvement they showed over 2023 came more from the hiring of DC Jeff Hafley than any roster move. Hafley's scheme is an aggressive 4-3 single-high system built to attack the line of scrimmage. The front 7 pressures with stunts and movements, while the secondary mixes press man with vision-based zone, adjusting adjusting weekly to matchups. This unit finished 8th in sacks last season, but struggled when only rushing 4 guys. That won't be a problem in 2025 because if Hafley's schemes rely on chaos and aggression to create big plays, the team just got the perfect upgrade in the form of the ultimate disruptor. The arrival of Micah Parsons changes everything because this beast is his own system. You don't need to stunt or scheme to get this wrecking ball to opposing quarterbacks. You just need to turn him loose and hope no one dies. So yeah, don't be shocked when this Packers defensive unit gets even better and carries the team through the playoffs. Of course, none of this matters if Green Bay can't survive the neighborhood first. The NFC North was the toughest division in football last year. Detroit finished 15-2, 1 win shy of the league's best record. Minnesota went 14-3, their best in years, and both teams swept the Packers, and 2025 won't be any easier. Green Bay drew one of the league's 5 toughest schedules this season, and 5 of their 6 division games land in the final 7 weeks of the season. That means December and January decide everything. Late season road trips to Detroit, Chicago, and Minnesota, a December clash with the Ravens, and 8 of their 17 games against top 10 defenses. That's the path Green Bay has to walk just to get back into the postseason. That's the brutal truth. The Packers won't sneak in by beating up on weaker teams this year. They'll have to hold their own within the division. Until they do, they aren't real contenders. At this point, we know who the Packers are. A young roster that showed flashes in 2024 but crumbled within the division, then retooled to flip the script in 2025. If they did enough to make a deep run into the postseason, it'll be time to start taking these comparisons seriously. Jordan Love is going into year 6 in the league. Favre and Rodgers were winning playoff games at this point, and they both won it all in their 6th years in the NFL. To be fair, it's tough to compare these 3 guys statistically. Favre started for Green Bay as soon as he came over from Atlanta, while Rodgers sat behind him for 3 years and Love waited behind Rodgers for 3 years. But as far as how many years they were in the league before playing on the final Sunday of the season, it was 6 for both. So if the Packers pull off a miracle run in 2025, Jordan Love will be on pace with Favre and Rodgers. And yeah, I know it's a big if he doesn't, then it becomes a situation where he's chasing ghosts instead of greatness. But that's the shadow this kid is playing under. Not just making the playoffs, but proving he can lead Green Bay into its next era of championship football belongs in the conversation with Favre and Rodgers. That's the razor's edge of the 2025 season. Either it ends with another chapter of not yet, or it's the turning point where Love writes his name alongside all the other Green Bay legends. And if this young unit pulls that off, there's literally no telling how good they can become, or how long they can stay on top. So, call it what you want. A quiet rebuild, the long game, or just the next chapter in Titletown history. But make no mistake, the Packers are coming, and it won't be with a knock on the door this year. Not with the addition of Micah Parsons this year. Yes, the window is open and getting wider by the snap, but it's more likely this team is barging through the door in 2025. And they look like they're built to stay once they get inside, so you tell us. Are the Packers for real this season, or will we be posting a video about what went wrong in Titletown this offseason? Either way, let us know in the comments, and hit that like and subscribe so you can weigh in all year long on the best NFL stories and deep dives into the league and its superstars.